Welcome back to the channel, folks, and we're talking about Survivor Edge of Extinction for one last time. Even though that looks like two, we're talking about one. So, it's time to wrap up reality. I'm your host, Tom Vasey, and welcome to TV Talks with Tom. Okay, so since the season finished actually a couple of weeks ago now, we have to talk about the cast rankings. So we're going to be ranking every single castaway, and it's going to be incorporating gameplay and on a personal level as well. So I'm not just going to be like, this person's the last place, I don't like them. Because let me just clear up before we go into this. I liked every single castaway this season. I wouldn't say every single one I had a strong like for, but there's definitely not any I dislike, because they all created a great season, but I just respect some more than others. And if you're wondering sometimes why some people are further down, I'll explain when I get to it, but you know, further down, it's solely because I sometimes let gameplay go over our personal level, because essentially Survivor's a game, and there's no essentially about it. Survivor is a game, and that's the one that's got to be incorporated the most. So yeah, we're going to be doing the rankings. There's 18 castaways, and if you keep catching me looking up there, it's because I've got my notes on the wall, so I can see. I haven't written them on the wall, don't worry. I've got a piece of paper that's on the wall, and it's having like every single thing, so I can remember my rankings, obviously, and I've got little notes to go with each one. So I'm not just randomly looking up there, I've got notes up there. So we'll start with the first one as we jump into the rankings of Survivor Edge of Extinction. So, in 18th place this season, I put Keith Sowell. He in the game, he also came 18th place, and I've just got a couple of stats here, so we'll jump in there. So, his finish, he was second voted out on day 6, and his Edge of Extinction status, he quit on day 17, and he had 6 votes against him in the entirety of the game. So, let's give the lowdown on Keith. He was the bottom of Manu, to be honest, most of the time, because he was sort of, he did struggle to make alliances. His social game wasn't excellent, and he wasn't great in challenges either. His physical game wasn't great. I remember him being, he was a weak swimmer, I think, in the challenges, and he had to get help off Chris, I think, in one of the challenges. So yeah, he was a liability in the challenges, which meant he's got to go, because otherwise they're going to keep losing challenges. So he was the second contestant voted out, but he did go at the Edge of Extinction. So yeah, he didn't quit the game at that point. He was taken out on a 6-to-1-to-1 vote, and he also is the youngest castaway of the season. But when he was on the Edge of Extinction for so long, he raised the mast on Edge of Extinction after losing the first re-entry challenge. So he did stay for some sort of duration, but then he messed up the first re-entry challenge, so then he couldn't go on anymore. So then he quit. So essentially, that's really all I've got to say about Keith. He seemed like a nice guy, definitely, but he just, for me, he didn't have. I feel like he would have been higher up if he had spent a longer time in the game, but we didn't see enough of him to sort of make him go, wow, this guy's got to be further up the rankings. So that's why he's last place for me. But I like him on a personal level, definitely, as I do everyone else. So in 17th place, we have Wendy. That's what I put, Wendy Diaz. She was excellent when it came to entertainment, but gameplay and the duration she was in the game made her go further down the rankings. So I've got more stats as well here. She was the 6th voted out on day 16. She quit on day 17, and she had 15 votes against her in the entirety of the season. And in game, she also came 17th place, so that matches up there. So she was known as Big Wendy, and she was seen as the underdog of the season. Not the only underdog of the season, but she was one underdog. And she was the first ever castaway as well with Tourette's syndrome. So that was great that CBS sort of got that done as well, because that is really inclusive and everything like that. So I think that was great to see. And she was an excellent castaway in my opinion. I just don't think her gameplay matched up to on a personal level. But I really did like Wendy. She was nice. And of course, we got to talk about Chicken Gate. She did not like those chickens being in the cage. She did not want to eat the chickens. So what'd she do? She released the chickens. I mean, okay, let's mixed emotions on that, I think, folks, because, I mean, you're on an island, you really need some food, and what you doing? She's releasing chickens. It's not great for the castaways, but it's great television for us. She, the whole season, as I said, she got 15 votes, and that's the most votes against anyone the whole season. So, and the fact that she was the 6th voted out, so she made it that far with 15 votes. So that's a feat, that. She was remembered for a sort of, despite Chicken Gate, she was remembered for a sort of kindness and positivity. But because she was so kind, she struggled to balance a social and strategic game. She'd be too nice to people, so then she couldn't like backstab them or anything like that. But she was voted out in the Joint Tribal Council, where 2 tribes went together. There was a 4-4 tie between Wendy and Lauren, and then the re-vote, tribe turned on her, Gavin, Eric and Victoria switched their votes to her. but that was only because she was the only original member of Manu after the tribe swap, so that explains it. But then she went to the Edge of Extinction and she raised the mast on Edge of Extinction at the same day as Keith after losing the first re-entry challenge, but she is only classed as further up in the game because Keith was first voted out, even though they raised the mast at exactly the same time. So, personal level again, Wendy's great, but apart from that, her game wasn't excellent. But she created some good TV, so thank you, Wendy. Now, this next one might be a bit of a shocker. In 16th place that I've put on my rankings is Aubrey Bracco. She is, I love Aubrey, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love her. She comes across as such a nice person and she's really entertaining as well. But this season, her gameplay wasn't up to par, which is why she's so... God, I feel like I'm saying this for every single one, but it's true. Her gameplay wasn't up to par this season, which is why she's much sort of further down the rankings. So in game, she did come 15th place, but I've put her as 16th on the rankings. So she was the 5th voted out on day 13, and she was eliminated rather than quit. So she eliminated. She became the second member of the jury on day 35 because she stayed for the full duration on Edge of Extinction, and she lost both the re-entry challenges. And she only had 4 votes against her all season, and I think those were the 4 votes that took her out. So she initially in the game, she was one of 4 returning players, so automatically she has a target on her back, which makes it hard for your social game, your strategic game. Maybe not, I don't think you'd filter challenge and physical game in there, but for strategic and social, 100% it affects it massively. While she was on the original Karma tribe, she found Immunity Idol. And when she was still in the game, and Rick Devons was on the Edge of Extinction, Rick Devons sent her an extra vote, so that came at an advantage as well. But then, another reason why I've put her further up is because she was eliminated. She was blindsided after the tribes swap with 2 advantages in her hand. She had an extra vote, and she also had an Immunity Idol, so that's pretty poor gameplay if you ask me. But you know, it was a blindside. She didn't know it was coming, so I suppose that's a self-explanatory excuse. And it was a 4-1 vote, so yeah, it was definitely a blindside she didn't see coming. So as I said, yeah, she went to the Edge of Extinction and lost both re-entry challenges, but she was in the jury, and then when she got to the end, she did vote for the correct winner. And by correct winner, I don't mean Chris deserved to win, although I do think he did in the final 3. But she was on the correct side of the vote. She voted for Chris with the majority of people who did vote for Chris. So in 15th place, not in the game, in my rankings, I have Julia, and in the game she came 12th place. So there's a bit of a difference there. It's three placement differences, and she was the 9th voted out. She's the 5th member of the jury on day 23, and again, yes, she was eliminated on day 35. So she actually was only on the Edge of Extinction for one of the re-entry challenges, but she stayed for it and she lost it. She had 9 votes against her all season. So initially in the game, Julia was part of the dominant Karma tribe. They were, you know, picking people off one by one. They were calling the shots every single week, and she had really strong relationships with people. She was on a personal level. She was getting along with everyone, and that was good for the merge because she can be part of this dominant Karma tribe up until the merge, and then when you get to the merge, that's when one-to-one relationships come into play, and you've got to make sure you're good with everyone, so nobody goes, hang on, let's get Julia out. And technically, she didn't really go out because people didn't like her, because she was taken out at that very, very crazy tribal council. But she was very vocal at the merge. She did get much more vocal, unless that was just the edit. But unexpectedly, crazy tribal council, as I said, caused her to be voted out 9-1 to 0. So that's a hefty amount of votes, people. That is a hefty amount. And she did stay on the Edge of Extinction, lost the re-entry challenge. And she voted for the correct winner. She voted for Chris. Again, she was on the correct side of the vote. Iconic quotes, we got "Shut up, War Dog," and "You're such a passenger, Rick." And I think we will remember that for a long time because that was involved in the crazy tribal council. Moving on to 14th place now, I've chosen Eric. Eric, I believe you pronounce it Huffman. I'm going to say Huffman or Hafman. I gave it my best shot. Eric Hafman. We'll go with that. And I liked Eric on a personal level. Great guy. I'm pretty sure he's a fireman as well. So that firefighter. So that's I respect that. Big respect there. And in the game, he came 13th place. So he had a very strong strategic and social game initially. He was the ringleader of the Karma Alliance alongside Ron Clark. They were sort of the power duo at the beginning of the game. And there was a tribal revolt at the second merge vote, which resulted in him being voted out because I think Karma was sick of Eric and Ron calling the shots every single time. You do this, you do that. So Eric sort of decided, well, Eric didn't decide anything. He sort of took the back seat slightly, and then he was voted out on an 8-2 to 2 vote. So, he stayed on the Extinction, edge of Extinction for the full duration and lost the re-entry challenge. And he did vote for the correct winner. He was on the right side of the vote. But I did watch the Ponderosa episodes after, and I've got to say Eric was probably one of the most entertaining people on Ponderosa. So, yeah, I think he did make Ponderosa a lot. So he was a good laugh there, he really was. So I did like Eric, I really did. So and can I just apologise about the lighting? It's absolutely dismal outside. The rain's hitting the window and everything like that. So it is. I'm focusing on the light at the moment in my bedroom itself. So that's trying to keep it good. But apart from that, the lighting outside is horrendous. So let's just push that aside and move on. So in 13th place for this season, I had Joe Anglin. In the game, he came 14th place, so that's he placed higher on my rankings than he did in the game. So he was the 7th voted out and the 3rd member of the jury. He was voted out on day 19, but he was eliminated on day 35. Then he became part of the jury because he did go to the edge of extinction and he lost the re-entry challenge, just like most of the people. He had 6 votes against him all season, so again, just like Aubrey, he was a returning player, so he had a target on his back at the beginning, and he was at the bottom of the tribe socially, 100%. However, folks, when it came to challenges and anything like that, competitions, he was a challenge beast. He was carrying his tribe. He was making sure to win every single time, which is why he got through pre-merge so easily. He got through pre-merge because he kept winning challenges, so he didn't have to go to votes. But after failing to win immunity at the merge, I'm pretty sure his fate was sealed as soon as he didn't win immunity, basically. But on the first vote of the merge, when he didn't win immunity, he was voted out. It was 6-3 to 2-2. That's a mouthful. But Karma 6 voted him out. Again, that's proven that they were a very dominant alliance and they can take anyone out, so they did that. So yeah, he did stay on the edge of extinction for a re-entry challenge and he lost, but it was really, really close between him and Chris, so he could have been back in the game, Joe, if a couple of seconds more, really. He did vote for the correct winner and he was on the correct side of the vote. On a personal level, Joe is great, and I saw in the reunion show at the end where there was the Sia awards given out, and Sia did say she was going to donate, $5,000 or $15,000 to a charity if Joe cut off his hair, and he did cut off his hair, so that money got given to a charity, which is excellent, and I respect that a lot. 12th place, ladies and gentlemen, we have the great, legendary Kelly Wentworth. Kelly Wentworth, legend. I absolutely love her. She's an absolutely brilliant player, entertaining as well. But she was cut short this time. She was just. I really did like her. Sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up here, but it's crazy to sort of see a legend like Kelly so like low down on the rankings. I mean, 12th. You know, it's okay, but it sort of reflects her game this time round. In the game, she did come 10th place. That's 2 placements difference. She was the 11th person voted out, so it's not bad, 11th person voted out. She was on day, on day 27 she was voted out, and she was eliminated on day 35, and that's when she became the 7th member of the jury. She had 14 votes against her all season, so that's 1 difference of Wendy. So, you know, she almost had the most votes of the season, so out of the returning players, she did have the most votes. And just like the other returning players, she had a target on her back going in because she was a returning player, and you know that puts her at the bottom socially. She gained numbers pre-merge, which allowed her to get through. That's what it pretty much was. She found immunity idol as well, and she was very, very tight with the last 3, which was herself, Lauren, and War Dog. They always voted together, and they were never going to. Well, maybe further down the game if they'd all made it, but they stuck together at the pre-merge and part of the merge as well. So that explained why they stayed in the game for so long. So Kelly did have some success for some time after the merge, not fully, but for some time. But she was blindsided by one of her closest allies, War Dog, while she was possessing an idol as well. And I always, with my rankings, well, I say always, this is the first one I've done, but for this one, I feel like if someone is blindsided or voted out whilst they've got an idol, I feel like that sort of it doesn't do too great for their gameplay or the look of it, which is why I've got to move them further down the rankings. So yeah, she did have that, and it was a 5-4 vote, so extremely tight, and she stayed on the edge of extinction for the re-entry challenge, but she lost it. It was close again though, and well, I say close. She was one of the front runners, and she didn't vote for the correct winner. She voted for Gavin to win, so she was not on the correct side of the vote. 11th place, we have Mr. David Wright. David, he was my favourite returning player this season. hence why he's furthest up out of all the returning players. And again, his game was 11th place as well, so neck and neck there. So he was the 10th person voted out on day 25, and he was eliminated on day 35 along with the Edge of Extinctioners, and he was the 6th member of the jury. He came in, he got 12 votes throughout the entirety of the season. Target on his back as returning player, yep, and he was very, very tight with Devons. He has a tight bond with him, although that was a bit rocky at some points. There was some votes and some dynamics that led to disagreements and conflict, but they worked it out in the end and they came back together, which was excellent to see. He escaped from tricky situations by making deals, so he had a great social game. He did. And War Dog constantly targeted him. I think he described David Wright as his arch enemy, and War Dog really wanted to get him out, and he was voted out 8-2 vote. And when he was on the edge of extinction, he found an advantage, and he set it to Devons. I believe it was the advantage where Devons got to have I think he had, when they were doing the ball tilt thing on the track, Devons only had to sink 4 balls rather than 5, so that was the advantage, and Devons did actually end up winning that challenge, so an advantage well used, if you ask me. He stayed on the edge of extinction for the full duration, lost the re-entry challenge, and he voted for the correct winner in the end. He voted for Chris in the end. David Wright, I like him. He's a legend. Would I like to see him play again? Of course I would. He's great. Great entertainment. I'd love to see him and Devons play again together. That would be excellent. Moving on to 10th place now, I've ranked Victoria. Victoria, again, a surname. I'm not going to... I'll try, but I think it's Barmond or Barmonde. We'll go with Barmond. So that's controversial, I think, that I've put that at 10th, because I know there was a lot of Victoria fans out there. She, in the game, placed 6th place. Again, really, really nice person it came across. And I think when I go on social media and various platforms like that, the general consensus is that Victoria played an unbelievable game, when I don't really think that's the case. She played a good game, but they make out as if she's some genius. Yeah, she was on the right side of the vote most of the time, but I mean, she only really made one big move, and that was back in, like, before the merge, like I think it was. So I'll talk about that though. So she did. She was the 15th person voted out, and she became the 11th member of the jury on day 36. So that's 3 days away from the end, and she had 2 votes against her. So she did during the swap. She eliminated, but she didn't eliminate, but she organised the elimination of Aubrey. So that's one returning player she sort of got out, and she did stay under the radar post-merge. After that, she sort of just cruised on by and stuck on the right side of the vote basically most of the time. She had an excellent social game though. In that retrospect, she just, because of that tactic, she was able to sort of socialise with everyone on a good level, apart from probably Devons, because everyone was good to get him out most of the time. She did solidify all of her relationships to avoid getting votes against her up until her elimination, but she was voted out 2-0. Why the zeros, you ask? You probably know because you've seen it, but Devons did use his idol, which cancelled out, because he cancelled out some of the votes, and then she did end up getting voted out. She then joined the jury, and she didn't vote for the correct winner. She was on the wrong side of the vote. So yeah, she voted for Gavin to win, and that was what happened with Victoria. So in 9th place we have, this is probably going to be controversial as well, because I know you say that she probably didn't play the best game, but on a personal level that rocked it up for me. I love Julie Rosenberg. She came 9th place in my rankings. In the game she came 3rd place, but I thought she was really just genuinely a nice person, and I do respect that. And that to me, when someone's just genuinely nice and radiates just kindness, positivity, then I like someone like that. I think it's really nice sort of thing to root for. So she was the 2nd runner-up, and she only received 1 vote against her the whole season, which is pretty impressive. And she did play a true emotional game, but I think that sometimes got the better of her, because her emotions often took part or displayed sort of reflections in her decisions and stuff like that. She did have a strong relationship with Ron, and that was sort of like a ride or die situation. And because Ron was a big powerhouse, he had made all these big moves. It made a shield for Julie. So they're not going to target Julie before they target Ron, are they? So that was a good tactic on Julie's half. I think that was one of the biggest moves of the season, pairing up with Ron. Strong social game again, and she did well to get off the bottom of the tribe when she was there. At many points during the season, she managed to sort of make deals and socialise better with people to ensure that she wasn't the one going out. She did change the game, in my opinion, at that crazy tribal council where Devon said, how about we, we could take the power here. And then Julie went, I'm jumping ship, and she moved across. She changed the game there because that encouraged other people to go, right, okay, I'm jumping as well. So she only had 1 vote against her the whole season, but she was a finalist and she received 0 jury votes, and I think that sort of reflected her game. On a personal level, though, I love Julie. I think she's great. So well done to Julie for, in my rankings, coming 9th place, and in the game, coming 3rd place. 8th place on my rankings is Gavin Whitson. Wow, that was hard for me to do, because the whole time whilst I was doing these rankings, I want to put Gavin down, but I sort of, his gameplay, on a personal level, he wasn't my favourite. He seemed like a nice guy, again, but he didn't have as much sort of, how can you say, I don't want to sound horrible, that's the only problem, because he was genuinely a nice guy, you could tell, but I just think, you know, some people, I prefer their sort of persona and stuff like that to Gavin. But I've said time and time again, I loved his Hawaiian shirt, because I myself, I love a Hawaiian shirt, and I loved his pineapple one. I thought it was excellent, so that's one big thing I liked about it. But in the game, he did come 2nd place, so there's 6 difference there on my rankings. But I didn't ignore the fact that he didn't receive a single vote against him all season, which is absolutely unbelievable and incredible. So massive hats off there to Gavin. So he was the runner-up, and he received 0 votes against him all season. He was in a strong position in the tribe throughout the game. When I say strong position, though, it wasn't at the top. He was in the middle. No one was targeting him at the bottom. No one was targeting him at the top. So he was sort of just like going along the whole time. So yeah, middle of the road. That's essentially what he was. Under the radar, he won 2 individual immunities. So he was good at challenges as well. And his personal relationships weren't very strong with people, which probably why it made him lose in the end. Because when Chris won against him, I think it was because Chris had managed to solidify relationships with people whilst he was on the edge of extinction. Tight bonds, they'll vote for him. Gavin didn't have those tight bonds, which is probably why he lost in the end. Right, 7th place. This is a legend of the game, and I'd love to see them play again. It's Reem. It's the one and only Reem Daly. What a legend we had there, folks. I know you're thinking, why on earth is she 7th place on my rankings? Because she was one of the most entertaining castaways of the season. I mean, imagine this season without Reem. I know we'd have other people to root for, but I mean, despite Reem being the first voted out, she had one of the most talked about sort of personas all season. Everyone on social media loved Reem. She was a legend. So she was the first voted out on day 3, yikes. And she was eliminated on day 35 because she stayed on the edge of extinction for such a long time. She stayed on for 32 days, so she had the longest stay on the edge of extinction. And yeah, so she became the first member of the jury on day 35, which sounds really weird, but it's true. She had honest opinion, she was entertaining, but she was voted out on day 3 with a 4-3 to 1-1 vote. So she was taken out there. But yeah, she lost both the re-entry challenges, but she kept going, which is why I love Reem. And she was just excellent. She really was, and I'd love to see her play again someday. And of course, we can't go on without mentioning Dude. She always said Dude, which was a lovely thing to catch up on every single time. She'd be like, Dude, every single time someone came to the island. And she made sure, every single time someone was voted out, that they wouldn't get a pleasant entry. She'd give them a piece of their mind and tell them how she felt, because she'd been on there for so long, so she's got a right to do that, so fair enough to Reem there. And she did vote for the correct winner. She was on the correct side of the vote. She voted for Chris to win. So well done there, Reem. So in 6th place on my rankings, I've put Wardog Da Silva. He came 9th place in the game, but he did play a really good game. I think his game improved as the season went on. He had a strong alliance with a returning player and a new player. So we had Lauren O'Connell as the new player and Kelly Wentworth as the returning player. So that puts you in a good position, I think, because then you've got a returning player as your shield, and then you've sort of got power with the new player as well that you can play about with. He was honest. He didn't mess about. He didn't beat around the bush. He just said what he felt, and I respect that as well. He did manipulate the whole tribe into voting Kelly Wentworth out, who was one of the biggest threats of the season. So that was a huge move in my eyes, and that's why he's so far up the rankings for me. So he did, but despite sort of doing that, he did have a bit of an emotional outburst afterwards, and that sort of caused the tribe to sort of turn on him after he sort of had a go at Gavin, and then he was voted out 6-2. But he did stay on the edge of extinction for the full duration, and he lost the re-entry challenge, and yeah, basically, so that's when he ended up being on the jury. I forgot to say the stats. He was the 12th voted out and on day 29, and he was eliminated on day 35 and became the 8th member of the jury. And the entirety of the season, he had 8 votes against him, which isn't too bad really, despite making 9th place. He did vote for the correct winner. He voted for Chris, so he was on the correct side of the vote there. So that's why Wardog is 6th place for me. Now moving on to the top 5. In 5th place, I've chosen Lauren O'Connell. So she came 5th place in the game as well. She was the 16th person voted out on day 37, so that's 2 days away from the end, and she became the 12th member of the jury with 11 votes against her all season, so that's quite a bit. Again, similar to War Dog, she had an alliance with a returning player and a new player, War Dog and Kelly, so Shield and working together with power, so that's good. However, her strong duo was with Kelly Wentworth, so huge shield again there. She found an immunity idol in the early days. I think it was day 2. She has a great social game. She was a challenge beast. However, she did not win any individual immunity. I remember, she passed out and she kept going days on after that. So that was she did brilliantly there, and she proved herself time and time again. She had stamina, she had endurance, and she was just really, really good at these challenges. But she never actually managed to win an individual immunity, which I was quite shocked at to look back at, because you forget as the season goes on, who won every single individual immunity or tribe challenge. And I look back, I was like, oh, damn. Like, how did Lauren not win anything? Like, it's crazy. Like, I think she might have won like 1 or 2 tribal challenges, but she didn't win any individual immunity, which I was quite shocked at. So, yeah, I do respect Lauren, though, on a huge level. I think she was great, and I really liked her on a personal level as well. She seemed really, really nice. She did get involved in alliances when she was at the bottom. So after War Dog went, after Kelly went, she was left by herself. But she sort of got herself involved with Victoria and Gavin and Aurora, and that helped her continue. So she played excellently there. So, however, her game deteriorated at the end when Chris got her to use the idol on her to filter the idol out, which was a huge gameplay move at that point in the game. So Lauren didn't have her idol with her, and because she didn't have the idol, the next time round she was voted out with a 2-0 vote, and she didn't vote for the correct winner. She voted for Gavin, so she was on the wrong side of the vote. Overall, Lauren played an excellent game, and I would like to see her play again someday, because I really did like her. So well done to Lauren there for coming 5th place in the game and 5th place on my rankings. Not that that matters, not that it's a big feat, but well done for coming 5th place in the game. Final 4 now, and in 4th place I have put Mr. Ron Clark. Now, Ron, unbelievably excellent game player. He played a mega game. On a personal level, he did say after the game he didn't go in as himself. He did say sort of, I saw on a social media post, he would want to ditch that and just go in and play to win, and I respect that a lot. So I don't think that was his real persona that we saw in the game, because he did get a bit arrogant towards the end. But on a game level, that's why he's so high up my rankings. Really respect it. So he came 8th place in the game, but 4th place on my rankings. He was the 13th person voted out on day 31, and he was eliminated on day 35 and became the 9th member of the jury. So he had 3 votes against him the whole time. So he was the guy who formed the Karma 6, which was the dominant alliance at the beginning. He had a strong position alongside Eric Kaufman, so there was power duo sort of there, controlling people. He had a lot of power there, and he found himself in the middle towards the back end of the game, which allowed him to sort of be the swing vote, so he could decide what happens, which means he had a lot of power for a lot of the game. And then after he was getting power week after week after week after week, he became really, really too confident, and then he got blindsided by the tribe, because the tribe sort of decided, if Rick Devons has an idol here, we need a backup plan. So Rick did use an idol, and then Ron ended up getting voted out on a 3-1-0 vote. So he stayed on the edge of extinction for the full duration, lost the re-entry challenge, so didn't return, but he did vote for the correct winner. He voted for Chris to win, and he was on the correct side of the vote. Ron was an excellent game player, so big respect to Ron there, and that's why he is so high up my rankings. Now we have the final 3 on my rankings. I'm going to go to 3rd place, which is, I chose Aurora McCreary. Now, say what you want about Aurora. At the beginning of the season, she was one of my least favourites, and in the middle as well. Towards the end, my respect went from there to absolutely Rockton for Aurora. I absolutely loved her towards the end. Excellent person, excellent gameplay. She was just brilliant. So she came 7th place in the game. She was the 14th person voted out on day 34, and she was eliminated on day 35 and became the 10th member of the jury. 12 votes against her all season. Now, she reached the merge without going to tribal, so that's really good in itself. She won 2 individual immunities, so she was a challenge beast. She was constantly on the bottom of the tribe, yet she survived many votes. That is really, really good, because when you've got a target on your back and she managed to get it off week after week after week after week, I've got to applaud her for that. So well done, Aurora, there. That was absolutely excellent. Her social game improved as the season went on, and we also saw a backstory as well on the loved one's visit, which I thought was really heartwarming, and it was a touching story, and that also made Aurora go up in my rankings as well. She did really excellent in the game, and I really do respect her, and I would like to see her play again someday. She was really good, despite her sort of being frenemies with my favourite, who I'm going to reveal in a second. I still managed to respect her because her social game was unbelievable. So that's where Aurora stands with me. So it wasn't even so much her social game was brilliant at the beginning, but it was excellent towards the end, because the fact that she managed to get off the bottom every single time, and I'm going to keep reiterating that, it was just brilliant. So yeah, she did stay on the edge of extinction for the full time, but lost the re-entry challenge. Again, it was close. She probably was she was leading the way, and then Joe and Chris sort of took over towards the end, which is why she sort of she didn't win, but she didn't vote for the correct winner in the end. She voted for Gavin to win, so she was on the wrong side of the vote in the end. Overall, Aurora McCreary, you played an excellent game, and big respect to you. Moving on to second place now, and I have placed this person second because they were the triumphant comeback kid of the season. It's Chris Underwood. Well done, Chris. He was the third voted out. Crazy times, eh? He was the third voted out on day 8, but then he became the second returnee to the game on day 35 after he won the second re-entry challenge. So he was removed from the jury and became part there, and then so he was voted out early. So you think, whoa, how's he placed so high, right? I'm going to reiterate this, and I'm going to emphasise it as well. When I see on social media people going, oh, he was voted out, same for Devons as well, he was voted out, how has he placed so high? Or, you know, he doesn't deserve to win. Yes, he does. This season was called The Edge of Extinction. There's a different theme every single season. Last time it was David versus Goliath, so you've got to fit the theme to win. Chris and Devons both fitted that theme. They went to the Edge of Extinction, they came back, they stayed in it for a duration of time. That is the theme, folks. It's Edge of Extinction. There is no way you can say, oh, he was voted out so he can't win. That's why we have the theme, Edge of Extinction. Otherwise, it would just be a normal Survivor season. Fair enough, you can say it then. This was the Edge of Extinction, and those two guys fitted the theme perfectly because they went there and came back. So there's no fuss there about that. I respect Chris and I respect Devons. He stayed in the Edge of Extinction for 26 days. That's a long, long time. And he did, whilst he was there, he got the chance to build personal relationships with everyone really, really well. He did win the re-entry challenge, so big respect there. And when he got back in the game, he turned it up a notch and absolutely changed the game. He got Lauren to use her idol on him, which filtered out an idol in the game, which was a brilliant move. He won the final individual immunity challenge, and not only that, he took off his necklace, gave it to Julie, and he decided to take on Rick Devons in the fire-making challenge. Now for me, Chris Underwood is going to be remembered as the guy who slayed the great Rick Devons, because I thought, like, let's be honest, if Julie or Gavin had gone to fire-making, could have they beat Devons? Yeah, they could have, but we don't know for sure, do we? So that was a big move, Chris doing that, and I think that allowed him to get the jury votes to win the whole game. After he got Lauren to use up an idol, he took out Rick Devons, who everyone was trying to get out for weeks on end, but no one could do it. So, you know, Chris was the guy who did it, and he deserved to win in the end for that. So he was the sole survivor on a 9-4 to 0 vote. So excellent gameplay, Chris. Big respect to you. And yeah, I would like to see Chris play again, because obviously we've got season 40 coming up, where it's the all winners season. He hasn't been invited to that. Well, we don't know if he was invited, but he's not in that season. So it's likely we could see him again on a future season after season 40. Dun 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 dun. Just in breaking news, Rick Devons places first on my Survivor rankings. Devons, oh my god, what a legend. Honestly, out of all the Survivor seasons I've seen, which is about 5 seasons, I've seen some of the early ones and some of the new ones. Rick Devons is my favourite player, and I genuinely think he's going to be my favourite for a long, long time. Absolute legend of the game. He came 4th place in the game, and he was the 4th voted out on day 11. Similar to Chris, he went to the Edge of Extinction and he came back. He was the first returnee on day 17, but then he was eliminated on day 38. That's 1 day before the final. It was so close, the hustling, the bustling, every single thing he did to try and get to the end, and it was all taken away from him with 1 day to go, which still breaks my heart. But you know, it's a game, and I'm sure we will see the great Rick Devons play again. He became the 13th member of the jury, and he had 12 votes against him all season. So he aligned with a returning player, which was David Wright, again using him as a shield. Excellent gameplay. He was voted out, won the first re-entry challenge, and he won individual immunity a record amount of times of the season, 4 times, which is brilliant. He was very honest, and he was entertaining. And let's be honest, the tribals this season would have been quite boring without him. He created live tribals, which was incredible. There was he found 4 immunity idols, which was Again, a great feat. And he planted 2 fake idols on people as well, and they were picked up and they were used hilariously and created more comedy effect at Tribal Council. He was the guy who flipped the tribe at the crazy Tribal Council as well. He was the one who said, we have a chance to take control here, and so they did. He lost at the fire-making against Chris. That was a really sad moment, but at the same time, I was so sad to see him go. But I remember watching it and I was applauding Chris. I thought, wow, even though I love Rick Devens, I just thought Chris was the guy who got Rick Devens out, and I got to take my hat off to that. No one else could do it but Chris, so I applauded for him. So really, really well done there. He received the Sia Award for the most entertaining player, so I'm pretty sure he got, I can't remember how much money it was. I feel like it was a hefty amount. I think I could be, no, I think he got $100,000, I think, off Sia, which is a huge amount. He was really, really entertaining. I can't wait. I'm going to say it as well. I'm going to be confident in this. I can't wait to see him play again, because he will play again. I've just got a good feeling about it. He's going to play again. However, he didn't vote for the correct winner. He was on the wrong side of the vote. He voted Gavin to win, because he did highlight in FTC, Final Tribal Council, that Gavin had never received a single vote against him all season, and that is a very valid point, which is why I put Gavin higher on my rankings as well. So yeah, that, folks, was my rankings of Survivor Edge of Extinction. I've absolutely loved covering this season. I have loved doing episodes week after week after week, apart from that 1 week where there was a little problem with the equipment. But it's all ship and shape now, so it's all swell. I've loved doing it though, and I've loved all the support. And ooh, crazy times as well. Last video I did, it's at 1,000 views. Oh, unbelievable. Thank you so much. Like, wow, I can't be appreciative enough. And I'm nearly at 90 subscribers now as well, so we're on the road to 100 now, so our fingers crossed there, and we're going to try and get there soon. So thank you so much. I couldn't do it without you, and I really, really, really do appreciate it. And yeah, it means the world to me, so thank you so much. Let's say all the cliche stuff now. Don't forget to share, like, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz. I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.